So good morning, everyone. My name is Elisa Udaskin, and I'm a career specialist in career services at JVS, Jewish Vocational Service, and we're located in East Orange and Montclair in New Jersey. So a little bit about JVS. We're founded in 1939, and we help people overcome obstacles to gaining employment. Our job seekers programs which this webinar is part of, are generously funded from the Jewish Federation of Greater Metro West and by Project M, and we thank them so much for their support. I'm really excited to bring back and welcome back our guest speaker, Amy Geffen, who is fabulous. Amy is a career coach with over 30 years of work experience in various fields, including nonprofits, finance, engineering, economics, and academia. For the last 9 years, Amy has been a career coach for private clients in several outplacement companies, including GetFive, the White Hawk Group, and Careerminds. Amy has presented webinars for the New York Public Library, Scarsdale Adult Center, Greater Philadelphia Careers, Middlesex County Government, and Monmouth County Government. So I'd like to welcome Amy, and it's going to be a great presentation. Over to you, Amy. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Alyssa and JVS, for this opportunity to speak to you today. Get your resume seen, beat the ATS. So we'll go over what's the agenda for today. We're going to learn what is an ATS, or the Applicant Tracking System, how does a company use the ATS, how to format your resume using keywords, how to tailor your resume to make sure you get for the interview, what not to do, what to do. Beyond the resume, what are some things that you can do aside from the resume? And then key takeaways at the end, we summarize with key takeaways. So what is the ATS, or Applicant Tracking System? It is a software application that helps companies manage the hiring process. It's artificial intelligence. It allows the company to compare your resume to the job description, and it knocks out most candidates who do not meet 85 to 90% of the job requirements. So if you've been answering ads online and wondering why they're not picking you, it's because you're not close enough to the job description. So how does the company actually use this artificial intelligence system? Managing tasks. It can create job descriptions, it can post jobs, it can scan resumes, it can schedule interviews, and it can generate offer letters. For the candidate, it helps you as a job searcher look for the jobs, apply online, and check the status of your application. Have they received it? Are they following up with you? It can streamline the hiring process. It can help reduce errors, reduce duplication of efforts, and it prevents candidates from getting lost in the shuffle. It also can compile statistics on various aspects of the hiring process, and the Human Resource Department or Talent Acquisition Department needs to know how many people have applied, how many people are going to be accepted based upon their resume, how many people are we going to interview. The ATS also supports communication internally within the company and externally with candidates. It can also provide channels for candidates to give feedback, and it notifies the company and updates based upon custom workflows. So, formatting your resume. This is the most important part of working with an ATS. Keep it simple. Avoid complex formatting. Do not use columns. Do not use graphics. Do not use text boxes. Do not use color. If you go online and look for resume templates, you will find the resume templates have color, have columns, have graphics. Those will not work for an ATS system. It's a nice resume, it looks great if you want to hand it in person, but don't use it for the ATS. Use simple standard fonts, a sans serif font like Arial or Calibri. Sometimes you can use Times Roman, but Times Roman really pegs you as someone who is older, and most people are not using Times Roman anymore. Don't use headings. Save it as a Word doc or a PDF, depending upon the instructions they give you. If they don't specify the format, a docx or doc file is your safest bet. Clarify previous job titles. Let's say you were an account manager at a company, but that could be the same thing as a project manager at another company. So make sure you spell out what the job involved and the tasks you did and your accomplishments, specific illustrations, examples of what you have done. A simple job description is not good enough because people with the same job title have a similar job description. And don't use headers or footers. Avoid graphics, avoid charts, and other artsy stuff that may look good, but they won't go through the ATS. Make sure the ATS can actually read your resume. Remember, it's artificial intelligence. It's not a human being. No human being has seen your resume yet. One way is to go into Microsoft Word and copy and paste the content from your resume into a plain text document. Another way is you can convert your current resume into a plain text document by clicking on Save As, and then change the format to .txt instead of .docx. Now, if the new version is missing any important details or the characters look different, then your original formatting is probably not compatible and you'll need to format it differently. What I tell all my clients is write your resume in a plain Microsoft Word doc. Don't do anything fancy. Keywords. The keywords are one of the most important things that you can use to help the ATS recognize your resume and put you through to the next step. Read the job description carefully. Use keywords from the job description in your accomplishments, in your list of skills or expertise, in your experience. The ATS system matches keywords in the job description to your resume. So make sure to include the exact words from the job description in your resume. Here's an example of how the ATS system doesn't recognize words. One of my clients answered an ad and they asked for Excel, Word, and PowerPoint, and she said in her resume, Microsoft Office Suite. Well, ATS is not that intelligent. ATS didn't accept Microsoft Office Suite because it was looking for the words Microsoft Word, PowerPoint, Excel. Here's another example. Healthcare. If the word healthcare is one word and you separate it into two words, the ATS doesn't read it. So even though it's Applicant Tracking System and it's supposed to be artificially intelligent, sometimes it's not so intelligent. Don't use acronyms. So if you said, I led a successful ERP implementation, resulting in 20% increase in ROI. Once again, ATS doesn't read those acronyms. Use the full words. I led a successful enterprise resource planning, in parens, ERP implementation, resulting in a 20% increase in return on investment, ROI. When you add the acronym or the abbreviation in parentheses after the long description, then the ATS will understand your resume as well as human readers. Because remember, the person who gets your resume first, if indeed it gets to a human being, may not be in your field. That person may be in human resources or talent acquisition. And if they're not familiar with the details of your field, they may not understand what those acronyms mean. So it's important to write them out in the long version. Follow the instructions. Whatever instructions are given throughout the application process, follow them. If they're asking that your documents be put in a particular format, use that format. If they tell you they want a cover letter, give them a cover letter. If they don't want a cover letter, don't give them a cover letter. As a side, don't ever put the words, see that information in my cover letter, in your resume. If the information is important, then you must spell it out again in your resume. Don't refer to one or the other. The more closely you follow the instructions, the more likely it is that you will get through the ATS to the next stage in the hiring process. Job title. Now, there are lots of different job titles that may mean the same thing. You need to be specific. You need to use the exact job title that's in the job description. So at the top of your resume, you don't put your current job title, you put the job title of the job description. Now, if you're applying to several different jobs, then your resume should use the exact job title for each of those jobs. It's not enough to have one resume. One resume does not fit all. You will need to tailor your resume to meet the requirements for each job you apply for. Tailoring your resume. Now, we will get to this in a minute. There are some applications online that you can use to compare your resume to the job description, because that is what the ATS system is really doing. When it compares your resume to the job description, if you're missing any keywords, any skills, any of the education or experiences, then you won't beat the ATS. So here's an example of someone's resume that was put through a synchronizer, and they found that, okay, 6 out of 7. The recruiter matchings, 2 out of 4. Skills match, 17 out of 42. Not good enough. If there were 42 skills required and your resume only had 17 of them, you won't go through. Premium format checks, cover letters. Again, there are ways to compare your resume to the job description before you apply online. So what do you want to include in your resume? The job title. Once again, it has to be the exact title of the job description. The summary, which is a sentence. Don't put in a whole full paragraph. Nobody's reading paragraphs. Accomplishments. Pick 3 to 5 specific accomplishments from your resume that relate to that particular job and put those up at the top of your resume after the job title and the summary. Skills, or you can use the word competencies, or you can use the word expertise. Make sure you have all the keywords, the key skills that they're looking for from the job description, put them in your resume. Under experience, once again, you don't want to spend a lot of space on the responsibilities of the job. Rather, you want to bullet specific accomplishments, examples of things that you have done. I use the PAR approach, or problem, action, result. What problem did you solve? What action did you take? And what was the result? And try to show the results in terms of dollars, numbers, percentages where you can. Education. If the job description is asking for a specific license or master's degree or certification, you need to show that if you have it. If you don't have it, you can't lie. And professional development. Have you attended any conferences? Have you taken any courses? Do you belong to an association for your field? So your resume must include all these sections. Avoid the pitfalls. Now here we go. Here are the things that you should not be using in your resume if you want to beat the ATS. Excessive graphics and images. I wouldn't put any images in or any graphics because ATS can't read them. It doesn't help you. Irrelevant words. Don't stuff your resume with unrelated keywords. So often people will say self-starter, jargon and cliches. We want to avoid those. Overused phrases such as self-starter, or highly motivated. These are repetitive. People have seen them a million times. They don't help you in terms of beating the ATS. Avoid spelling and grammar mistakes. Sounds something that you should be doing. It's not enough for you to proofread your resume. Make sure you give your resume to someone you trust, someone who can read, someone who knows grammar, because we often miss our own mistakes. It could be a simple letter that's missing, or a letter that's added to a word, or there is no agreement between the subject and the verb. Make sure you proofread your resume and you give it to someone else who can also proofread your resume to catch any typos or grammatical mistakes. Unprofessional email address. I don't know how many of you are still using Yahoo, but Yahoo is no longer a professional email address. It should be a Gmail or some other address. Avoid not following the instructions. Pay close attention to any specific requirements. Custom headings. Don't try to use some fancy headings in your resume. Instead, use the standard section headings such as summary, experience, skills. And overly stylized. Once again, when you go online and you look for resume templates, you will see some very interesting, well-designed templates. Don't bother using those because the ATS won't be able to read them. So these are the things you should be doing.
Amy, may I
Yes.
please just ask two questions?
Go
Or
ahead.
two things. One is, because this has been a common thing, should there be periods at the end of the bullet points? Because I've seen so many resumes lately where clients don't have periods at the end of their bullet points for each of the jobs and the accomplishments, and they say that they were told not to have it. Do you have any idea about that, or is it a personal preference?
I think it's personal preference. If
Okay.
it's a sentence and it makes sense that it's a full sentence, organized, a conference attended by 150 people, that's a sentence. It deserves a period at the end. So
So it has nothing to do with ATS then. That was my
No.
question. Okay.
no.
And then my second thing is I just wanted to say one more thing about the unprofessional email address. So 100% about making sure it's not Hotmail, things like that. But I've also seen that people have an email that's babycakes@gmail.com. I don't know, whatever it is, like their personal email,
Not acceptable.
create, and I try to, create an email address that's your name. And if your name is a common name or there's other ones, put numbers beside it, right, Amy?
Right.
That's all I want to ask. Yeah.
Absolutely. I use Geffen A. Now, I know for a fact because I've done a search online, I'm the only Amy Geffen in the United States, believe it or not. But many of us have common names, as you pointed out. So you can use your first name, last name, or your last name, first initial, or the number 2 or 3 or 415 afterwards to make yourself distinguishable from the other people who have your name. Good point. All right, so what are the things you should be doing on your resume? Tailor your resume. As I mentioned before, carefully review each job posting. Customize your resume to highlight the relevant skills and experiences. Remember, your resume is not an autobiography. You need not include every single thing you've ever done in your life. You want to include the things that are the most relevant for the job that you're applying for. Use keywords strategically. Incorporate keywords from the job description throughout your resume, including the job title and the responsibilities. You can put the keywords under skills, you can put them in your summary, you can put them under your experience and use them in some of your accomplishments. Clear section headings. As we said, don't make up headings. Use skills, use experience. Bullet points. Use bullet points. That's the one thing you can use that the ATS system will read. Use the bullet points to describe each of your accomplishments. Now, your most recent job can have up to 5 bullet points, but any previous jobs really shouldn't have more than 3 or so bullet points. You need not put in 6 or 7 or 8 or 9, 10 bullet points with previous jobs. Plain text. As we mentioned, save your document, save your resume as a doc or a PDF, whatever they're asking for. If they ask for a doc, you may put it in a doc format. If they ask for PDF, you save it as a PDF. And include a link to your LinkedIn profile, or if you have a portfolio. And that should be included at the top under your name, where you have your cell phone, your email address, and your LinkedIn profile URL. Tools to optimize.
Amy, sorry.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Remember, go back to the last slide, please. I was wondering if you could talk about the hyperlink thingy that we talked about.
Good
Please.
point.
Thank
Yes.
you. And tell people how to unhyperlink it. Thank you.
So ATS will not read a hyperlink. You just have to type out all the letters and the words and that are in the link, but you cannot make it hyper by highlighting it. Unlike a regular document that someone can click on and then go directly to that website. So you can't put in the hyperlink, but you can put in the actual letters, numbers in the link, in your text, put it that way.
Yeah. And, if you're like me, like it took me 5,000 times to figure out I kept on typing it, pressing enter, it hyperlinked it. And then Amy showed me how to right click on it. And there's actually a drop down that you can say remove hyperlink, which I didn't know how to do. I just wanted to say one more thing just at this point, which is, most people here, this is all new. Okay. Like I still remember going and buying really nice linen paper to print my resume on. Then I moved and got with the times of just making sure my resume looked really creative and could stand out, right? This is relatively new, and it's just, it might sound counterintuitive for people who have been, in the workforce for many years, where we want to stand out with our resume and things like that. It might be counterintuitive, but what Amy is sharing today is today's reality. Okay. You want to keep your nice format or whatever, keep it as a PDF to email to someone when you're introduced. But if you want to have your resume get through the ATS system, first of all, we recommend, which Amy will talk about also, just, networking and all that is the most important. But anyhow, but if you want to do that, these are the new rules today. It's not what we used to, but I just wanted to reinforce that again, that this is real. This is today's reality. Thank you for my soapbox.
Thank you. So, as I mentioned, there are some ways that you can optimize your resume and compare it, sync it to the job description before you actually load up your resume to the ATS system. And one is called JobScan. If you go to JobScan, you put in your resume and you put in the job description, you click a button, it compares the two. And as you've seen earlier in this presentation, it'll tell you what keywords you have, what are missing, what skills you have, what skills are missing, what education you have, what education is missing. You can go to resumeworded.com, or you can use vmock.com, or you can go into ChatGPT, and there's one other one, TLHQ. So these are some of the systems that you can use to compare the resume to the job description, because that's what the ATS system is actually doing. It's using an application to compare what you've written to their job description. Things beyond your resume. Now, this is very important. Let's say you see a job description online and you say, that's got my name written all over it. I want to apply for that job. And you apply online. You still need to network your way into the company. You need to find out the name and email address of the hiring manager through your network, through your connections, through your LinkedIn, or through the company website. And what you want to do is write directly to the hiring manager. It's a two-step process. First, you apply online on the ATS system. Second, you write an email to the hiring manager and you attach your resume to the email. And in the email, which is your cover letter, so to speak, you say you've applied for XYZ position, use your usual cover letter, mention your skills, accomplishments, attach your resume, and send the email. Why? Because 9 times out of 10, your resume won't even get through the ATS system. So a human being is never going to see it. This way, you apply online and then you write to the hiring manager, at least one human being in the company is going to see your resume. And they can decide whether they want to interview you or not. So how are you going to network your way into the company? Look on LinkedIn for the company's LinkedIn profile. Most companies will have a profile, not their website, but the LinkedIn profile. Look at the people, and they will list a number of people who work at the company. See if you know anyone in the company. Contact your network and see if people in your network know anyone who works at that company. You can also use LinkedIn to connect to alumni from your college or your university and see if any of those people either work at the company or if they know someone at the company. So then you're going to write to that person and say you have applied to the position and attach your resume. So see the importance of networking. Honestly, more people, 80 to 85% of job seekers get a job through networking. Fewer than 10% of job seekers will get a job by answering ads online. Tips to remember. We got about 10 tips, so here we go. Focus on keywords. Read the job description, circle the keywords, and put the keywords and phrases in your resume. But be honest. Always include the company's name and exact position on your resume. Include a few role-specific keywords in the education and hard skills portion. Copy and paste keywords, but not full sentences, from the job description. Include action verbs and specific skills. Here's another thing you can do. This will help you in your whole job search. Do an internet search for relevant industry keywords. Compare this job posting to other job announcements to pull keywords. But don't overdo it with keywords because at some point a real human being is going to read your resume. More tips. Never lie about your abilities or your education. If you cannot back it up, don't write it down. I once interviewed a woman for a job at a company, and I needed someone with an education background, and she had a great background, 20 years experience, and she wrote she had a bachelor's degree and a master's degree, and guess what? I called up the university, and she had neither the bachelor's nor the master's degree. I didn't hire her because she lied on her resume. Had she not lied, I would have hired her anyway, even though she didn't have the bachelor's degree because she had the experience. Stay away from PDFs. So use a Word document. Ditch your headshot. Now, in Europe, in certain countries, resumes or CVs do have photos, have headshots, but we don't do that here in the United States. Have a nice professional headshot on your LinkedIn profile. Make sure you have your LinkedIn and social sites have a professional photograph. Avoid overused jargon, such as self-starter, attention to detail. Use a show, don't tell approach, meaning instead of saying, oh, I'm a successful salesperson or I'm a self-starter, give an example. Initiated a company-wide volunteer program that resulted in 1,500 prepared lunches for school-aged children in impoverished areas. Avoid fancy graphics. Again, be basic. Use bullets to get your points across. Be succinct. Don't go on and on and on because you don't want long sentences or paragraphs. Now, if you're applying for a position where design does matter, then you might be asked to present a portfolio where you can showcase your style. Make sure your resume is easy to navigate, it's readable, it's professional, and it has information that's pertinent to human people, not just the ATS. Highlight your relevant experience, use bullet points. Hiring managers and recruiters or spend 7 to 10 seconds, maybe less, 6 seconds, reading your resume. And if they don't see what they're looking for in the top third of the first page, meaning a job title, a skills, and some accomplishments, they're never going to read the rest of your resume. On your resume, you include the link, but not a hyperlink. If you have a portfolio, you can include the link to the portfolio, your personal website. Not every position requires a portfolio, but if yours does, then you want to include a link. Key takeaways. Use one of the 3 standard resume formats: chronological, a combination, or functional. Now, what I hear from some recruiters and hiring managers is they don't like the functional resume, even though it shows that you can do other things. It doesn't highlight your experience. On the other hand, if you are changing careers totally and you need to highlight your skills, you can use a combination. You highlight your skills in the first half of your resume, and then you list your experience in the second half of your resume. Format your resume correctly. Avoid charts, avoid tables, avoid graphics, avoid text boxes, avoid color. Use a professional resume template and save your resume in the ATS-friendly file format. Read the directions, follow the directions. If they ask for a doc, docx, text, give them what they ask for. And the most important thing is network your way into the company. Write directly to the hiring manager. That requires that you do some research and networking and talk to your connections to see if they know someone in the company, or research online in the company. But what I will tell you again is this: fewer than 10% of job seekers actually get a job by answering an ad online. One of my clients answered 170 ads, 170, and got 2 interviews. It is not a good use of your time. You should be spending most of your time networking, connecting with new people, connect with 5 to 10 new people every week, reconnect with people you know, and you should work with a recruiter, and you should write directly to companies. Make your list of target companies where you would like to work and write directly to people there. 80 to 85% of people will get a job through their network. Remember, fewer than 10% of job seekers get a job online. 70% of jobs aren't even advertised. And once they're advertised, guess what? They often have filled the position, or they often have someone in mind, a candidate in mind. So don't spend all your time putting your resume through the ATS. Spend most of your time networking. More than 80% of job seekers will get a job through his or her network. Questions? Thank you very much.
We have Susan, then Heather, then Sally.
I am trying to find a job in New Jersey, but I'm also trying to look at jobs in the Seattle area and the Bay Area of California. And I'm finding that I don't want to lie about my address. I don't want to make up a phone number, but they're not taking me seriously because I'm from New Jersey, even though I can literally, sorry to use that cliche, pack up and be there in no time because I'm set and I'm ready to go. And I just was wondering if there's any tips or something to help me be taken more seriously for a job out there, those 2 locations.
What do you say in your cover letter? Are you saying in your cover letter you're open to relocating?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. But I find that things, and I get this is why this is so helpful to me because I am a little bit old school. It's not really being seen necessarily, or maybe everyone says that. I've had some hiring managers say to me they're so inundated with resumes and cover letters from AI that it's almost like they don't even look at them anymore either if they're perfect. So I try to network. I try and maybe get a phone call in or just something so they can hear a voice. Here I am. I'm serious. This is not just something I'm doing, for unemployment or what, yeah.
Well, you're doing all the right things. You need to continue to network, and you need to see if you can find out the name of the hiring manager, who's usually 1 or 2 levels above the position you're going for at the company, and write to that person and then follow up with a phone call, see if you can talk to that person.
Okay. All right, well, thank you. So it's good to know I'm doing the right thing. I appreciate this presentation so much. I'm sorry I had to miss half of it because this is so helpful to me. So thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, so then we have Heather, Sally, Lee, Jamie, Lamond, Chad, Olga. So Heather?
Thank you so much for the presentation today. A question a little bit off the ATS. You mentioned LinkedIn and professional headshots. How often do you advise someone to update their professional headshot on LinkedIn?
Well, if it's more than 10 years old and you look significantly different, I would get a new headshot. One time I had a conversation with someone. I met someone on LinkedIn. I saw his headshot, and then I met him in person, and he was like 20 years older than the picture. That's not acceptable, okay? It should be a recent, fairly recent, within 10 years. If you have changed significantly, or your hair color or hairstyle has changed significantly, or you're wearing glasses or not wearing glasses, you should get a headshot. Now, it depends on who do you know? Do you know someone from your family or friends who can take a nice professional shot, or do you have to pay for it? It could be a couple $100 or more to pay for it, but that's up to you.
Thank you. When I got my headshot, the photographer advised taking it without glasses, but I really wear my glasses all the time. So I don't know if that's something that is difficult for anybody to adjust to, but I think that's common. It hasn't been 10 years, but it's been at least five. So
Well, that's up to you, as long as the photograph doesn't have the reflection in your glasses. You have to be careful when you take the picture so that there is no shiny reflection in the glasses.
yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. So Sally?
Thank you,
next.
Elise. So Amy, this is, can you hear me? Okay.
Yes.
This is kind of a tactical question going back to the hyperlink. First of all, everything you're saying is incredibly helpful. So what I did on my resume to be really clever and to save space. So number one is the space saving. I have my name, which is hyperlinked to my LinkedIn. And then obviously my email below it, which is hyperlinked. And I just wanted to say for Susan, who just spoke about relocating, I just have a phone number and my county in New Jersey. I don't give a specific address. And I'm wondering, do you even have to give could you just do your phone number so it takes your location out of the equation? But that's for Susan. I wondered if you could physically show us an example what it looks like, and maybe Elise could, where you're spelling out the hyperlink, because I thought this looked really nice the way I had done it, and it saved space.
Yeah, well, again, you can't use a hyperlink to go through ATS, so you just have to spell it out, right-click, and then say, undo the hyperlink. Now,
Okay.
as far as the city, usually I tell people, definitely no street address. And
Okay.
if it's in the metro area of where you live or around where you live, you can put your city and state. But if you're trying to change locations, then you're right. I mean, there's no point in putting in the city or state, just put your phone number in. But I got
Okay.
news for you. You can do a lookup, a reverse lookup with phone numbers, and you can find out where it's coming from. So there are ways to find out where you are. Unfortunately, it's easy to do.
Okay. Now, would the ATS throw me out because my name is hyperlinked? It's the only hyperlink on here.
It
It
might,
could be.
yep.
Okay. That would make sense. Okay.
Yeah.
Now,
Okay, thank you.
I also use Times New Roman, and I will change that to Arial.
yeah, it shows
That's
we're
so
too
weird.
old. Old school.
Okay. Well, I'm old, so
Yeah, well, so am I, but I use Arial or Calibri.
okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, so we have Lee and then Jamie. Lee? Okay, if Lee is not ready, then we'll go to Jamie.
Hi, thank you very much for doing this. I really appreciate
You're
this.
welcome.
You had mentioned the types of fonts to use. Do you recommend a certain font size in terms of like, you don't want something too big, you don't want something too small? What would be the optimal font size to use? for your-
11.
11.
12, if you don't have too much to write, you can put everything in 12 as long as it doesn't go beyond 2 pages. Nothing smaller than 10. People can't read
Nothing
it.
smaller than
It's too
10.
small. Now, the headings can be 12 or 14, or your name can be 14 at the top. The headings could be 12, and then the rest of your text could be 11.
Okay,
But again, I recommend no more than 2 pages, unless you're in academe and you're a professor or a dean, then you can have 5, 6, 7 pages. I think I had like a 7-page resume when I was in academe because I had to list every conference I attended, every conference where I spoke, every continuing education program I took. It was ridiculous. But everybody else, I've got a 2-page resume. That's it. And I have way over 30 years of work experience. Now, someone
Got it.
else had a question. All right, go ahead, Elisa, because I saw some other questions.
Okay, yeah, so we have Lamont, I'm just gonna go through the list, the latest list. Lamonda, then Chad, then Olga, then Luther, then Beth. So Lamonda?
Thank you. Good morning. Amazing presentation. 3 questions. Can you review the 3 resume formats that you lifted up? Part 2 to that is, what is your suggestion or recommended format, excuse me, for a candidate that has wide, varied experience? I mean, from banking to health and fitness to the restaurant industry. It really, it's very diverse. And the last question is, you mentioned, or I thought I heard that you mentioned, include the organization's name or the job title in your resume. And the question is how does one do that organically?
Okay. 3 kinds of resumes: chronological, which is what most of us use, reverse chronological order, your most recent job, and then previous jobs. Functional. Functional means you highlight your 3 or 4 top skills and write accomplishments under those skills. And then the combination is you write the functional skills and then you still write just name of company and job title under that. Okay. Now, second part of your question, Lamonda, repeat for me, please.
For someone who has really diverse, I mean,
Oh, okay.
super varied experience, what is your recommended resume format?
It depends on what job you're going for and what you've done before. Okay, without knowing that, I can't just say, oh, what to recommend. If the job you're going for now is something maybe you did 10, 15 years ago, yeah, then you better use the functional format. But that would have to be an individual thing. I'd have to know exactly what your experience is, what job you're going for, what are the skills required in this new job, and then figure it out from there. And then you had a third question.
And the third question is, I think I heard you mention include the job title or the company's name in the resume. How do you do that organically?
At the top of your resume, the first thing you have is your name. And then under your name is your phone and your email address and maybe your LinkedIn profile. Under that should be, in big letters, the job title you're going for, and you can put the company name. I usually don't do that, but yes, that's where you would put it. Under your name and your contact info, and then you put the job title in caps and the company name.
Copy that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, Chad, please go ahead with your question.
Yeah, my question is, with all the companies leaning so heavily on the ATS systems, maybe it hasn't been around long enough, but I'm just curious, like, are companies seeing a higher quality candidate that they're actually hiring? Are they happy with the people they're finding? I'm just curious, like, it's such a big shift. My question is, how's that working for them, I guess?
Well, I'm not in HR, but my guess is this. They're getting a lot more candidates, but they're not necessarily more qualified. And most companies will hire someone they know, someone from within the company, someone who has been recommended by an employee in the company. Companies are going for people who they know are going to be a good fit, cultural fit, and who have the expertise. So they may be getting thousands of resumes, okay, through the ATS system, and maybe 100 will pop up as the ones that are the most relevant. And out of those, then when finally HR looks at them, maybe they'll pick 25 people. So are they getting better candidates? Hard to say. Companies still are using recruiters as well, and recruiters are vetting candidates for them.
Okay, thank you. So Olga, then Luther, Beth, I think it's Shayna maybe, Megan and William. Olga?
Hello. This is a great topic, ATS. So before I ask my actual question, so when you're writing out Microsoft Word and Microsoft Excel, are you actually writing out Microsoft or are you MSing it?
Write it out.
Okay, perfect.
Write it out. Do not put any acronyms.
Same thing with Google Sheets, Google Word. Okay, sounds good. All right, so my actual question. Networking is a huge thing. I am a likable person, says I, and I'm not afraid of holding a conversation, starting a conversation. And I have watched many different videos about how to introduce yourself to someone on LinkedIn, and I have tried it all, and I get no responses. I'll submit my application and send my resume, and then try to connect with the recruiter, the hiring manager, and it's not working for me.
Okay.
Suggestion?
You need to use LinkedIn for a different type of networking. You use LinkedIn to go to the LinkedIn profile page for your high school or college or graduate school or certification place. And you go under that and you can search for alumni from that school by year of graduation, by subject matter, by city in which they live, by company. Then you go down the page and you see someone who works in a company and you ask to connect. And you write one message that says, I see we're both alumni from XYZ University. I would love to connect you on LinkedIn. And if the person connects, and in most cases, alumni will connect to you. We're not talking about someone who you don't know at a company. Then when you connect, then you say, oh, I'd love to get your career advice. Do you have time for a 10-minute chat? So if you can find people who are alums, that's number one, and maybe they know someone in the company, or maybe an alum actually works in the company where you're applying, okay? But when you apply directly and you write to the hiring manager, don't expect to get an answer from them. You know, when they're good and ready, they'll answer you.
Good advice. Thank you.
You're welcome. Next question.
Okay, Luther, you're up.
Yes, thank you so much, Amy. But Olga, I would share, Amy, if you don't mind me sharing, I'm like a network professional. Well, a couple of things I would definitely recommend you do is if you're applying for a company, see if they're active on LinkedIn. Because if the vice president, if the people, the hiring manager, if they're active on LinkedIn, then that means they check in pretty frequently. So they'll get your message. Also, I recommend commenting. If you're looking at a target company, then what I started doing was whenever I was looking at this target company, I started following the VP, the HR recruiter. I would like their comments. I'd like if they posted something on LinkedIn that says, hey, great idea. Hey, I really enjoyed reading your article. And that's allowed me to, I mean, I sent out 5 messages yesterday on LinkedIn for one job that I applied for. I got 4 responses, but that's only because I looked to see who was active on LinkedIn. But just shooting an arrow in the dark, I mean, shooting an arrow in the dark, expecting something. If they're not active, they're not going to see you. They're
Right.
just simply not. So that's what I would definitely recommend if that's okay, Amy.
Yeah,
I
that's
am
a
so
great
connecting
suggestion.
with
Thank you,
Luther.
Luther. Excellent.
Yeah, my question to you is, Amy, so I have an extensive resume, similar around the insurance field. The recent company that I'm targeting is in insurance. I used to work for Progressive Auto Insurance 20 years ago. So how do I kind of tailor that in to say, okay, I want to go back into my original field from 20 years ago. I know the market has changed, but do I still include that? I mean, I have some other insurance related jobs, but nothing directly related to P&C, property and casualty.
Well, you should definitely include that in your resume, and you should definitely write about that in your cover letter.
Okay.
You know, explain, I've worked in insurance, this is what I've done, now I want to go back to my original thing. That's it.
Okay.
If you don't match all of the skills that the ATS doesn't match with you and you want to apply, do you find somebody in your network or to the HR person and cover those things in the cover letter? So that's one question. Wordsmithing with your action words, when it doesn't work, because I use that a lot. I use the thesaurus to look things up. And if you can't find a synonym that is similar, and they are somewhat redundant, which I hate personally, what do you do in that situation? Do you always have to have a text version of your resume? If you can't get through to your LinkedIn contacts for an intro to a job, then what? Headings and skills, how many keywords do you put in? And if the apps are not free, like I know JobScan, you can only get like 1 or 2 through, then what do you do if you can't afford the free version?
Okay. So if there are keywords in the job description, don't look for a synonym. You've got to use the exact keyword that's in the job description if you want the ATS system to read it. If you're applying to a different job that's not in the ATS, sure, you can use a synonym. But for purposes of ATS, it has to be the exact word.
Right, but when you said things like action words, like, you know, team player, self-motivated, and you can't find something to replace it.
Oh, if you can, that's great. If they're looking for that, that's fine. Action words are different. Action words are analyzed, organized, planned, scheduled. Those are action words. They're verbs that are action words. Words you're talking about are the softer skills, collaborator, time management, things like that.
Okay.
If you want to apply and you don't have 85 to 90% of what they're looking for, a human being is not going to read it. If you can, find out the name of the person who may be the hiring manager and do what Luther said and follow them on LinkedIn and comment on their comments and like that. That would be helpful too. But honestly, again, it's a waste of time to use the ATS system. You should be spending more of your time on networking.
Okay, and then the second question was, if you can't get through, like I've done a bunch of introductions through LinkedIn and I haven't heard anything back from people, and these are second and third connections, what do you do then?
Well, you just keep doing it. Keep doing it, okay? The people who are your first connections this is how you introduce someone. Let's say you have your own first connections. You should have over 500 first connections. You ask that connection, please introduce me to so-and-so. You want that person who's your first connection to send an email to you and to that person. And so you each have each other's email address and phone number, all right? Your first connection is making the introduction. You don't just want your first connection to send you the email and you talk to that second connection by yourself. You want that first connection to make the introduction.
Okay.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you, Amy. Thank you, Beth. Is it Shayna?
It's Shayna.
Shayna, sorry.
I was just asking, I was lucky enough to get the LinkedIn premium, and there's a thing that says, like, I think it was already answered in the chat, so forgive me, but it said, am I right for the, or how do I fit this role, or do I fit this role? Is that a good way to check the ATS, or is it just a good way to suggest how to match the role?
Well, that's the same question. Yes. I mean, if you use it and it tells you're a good match, great. That, solves your problem, then go ahead.
Thank you.
Okay. You're welcome. William, Lee, Dawn, and then Linda.
I was just saying, is there any other phrases to avoid in the way of, someone told me seasoned professional makes you appear old. I don't know.
What you could say is, if they're looking for someone with 10 years experience, in your little summary statement under your name at the top of your resume, you can say whatever your title is, project manager with 10 plus years of experience, right? Avoid seasoned professional. Sure, it sounds like you're 65 years old.
Any other phrases though like that, or that you should avoid? You mentioned a couple of them, self-starter.
Yeah, I mean, you can look up common phrases like that. They're just all over the place.
They're too general as well.
Yeah, yeah. The point is, if you want to show, instead of, you don't say, or you don't tell, you have to show. You have to give an example. So if you're a self-starter, you have to give an example of something that you launched, something that you innovated.
Okay.
If you're a collaborator, you have to give an example of how you worked with another person, another team, another department, another company.
Got it.
Are you still
I'm
here?
here. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes. Go ahead, Lee.
I work with politicians. I'm a registered lobbyist in Minnesota, and I'm trying to get a job in government. So are the requirements for applying for government jobs significantly different? That's part one of the question. Part two, if I go into an interview with a county or a city where I know somebody who is an elected official, can I use that connection, or is that a violation of ethics?
Okay, good question. So federal jobs have specific requirements in terms of applying. You can go online and ask the question of Google and find out, how do I apply for federal jobs? Some jobs are civil service, they require exams. Other jobs don't require exams. Same thing for municipalities. You have to look online for that municipality. How do you apply for jobs in that municipality? Now, if you know someone, I would just do it verbally. Talk to the person you know by phone, have a little chat and say, is there someone you can introduce me to? Is there someone that you can recommend me to? Government in many ways is similar to the rest of the world. Someone is going to apply for a job, but someone who's recommended for that job has a better chance of getting the interview.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Next question.
Dawn, go. Your turn.
Hi, Amy. I appreciate the this timely resume workshop here. Two questions, actually three. First question is about the resume itself. How far does the resume need to go back? 10 years, 15 years in terms of
Not more than
experience?
15 years.
Will it come there from your
10
experience?
10 to 15 years, that's it. Because if you look at what jobs are looking for, does anyone say we want someone with 20 years experience? Unlikely. So you don't want to put in more, you don't need to put in more than 15 years experience. Or if this experience prior to 15 years is relevant, what you can do is at the end of your experience, you say additional experience and put in the name of the company and the job title without the dates.
Okay, got it. Okay. The other question I have is about the ATS. So the ATS system itself. So if I've applied for like 3 jobs at the same company, does that work against me in terms of the ATS?
Yes, it works against you. Pick the one job that you think you're the most qualified for.
Got it. And then just to dovetail off that, say if I've been rejected from one of the jobs I went through the interview process, and and it's still open in the ATS, like Workday shows it's open, and if I apply for another job, any
different job or the
experience there
same?
how that works?
Well,
different job, same company.
Well, if it's still open and you haven't applied for it, even though you were rejected from the others, go ahead, go for it.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Oh my God, you'd be so good on a rapid fire game show, Amy. That's what I was thinking. Yeah, you're really knowledgeable and really good. And I've learned so much from you. Okay, Linda Schwartz. Hi, Linda.
Hi. Luther kind of answered a lot of the questions. My question's about networking, because I'm still from the old school, but I know that's important, and everyone who all these webinars I've been on, the common denominator is networking. What happens if you don't have a large network, already? I mean, how would you start
Okay.
networking and build a network?
All right. I do a whole webinar on networking, but I'll give you the 5 ways you can increase your network. Okay. Number 1, again, your college, your university. Go online to the LinkedIn profile page for your college or your university or your high school and find people who you want to connect to. Ask to connect, see if they connect. If they do, great. Stay in touch, have a conversation. If FaceTime, Skype, Zoom. Second way to connect, your professional association. Every profession has at least one or more associations. Join the association, go to meetings, go to conferences, meet other people who do what you do because they know where the jobs are. I was in association management and I belonged to the New York Society of Association Execs for many, many years. And when one of my jobs ended, I spoke to a woman there who knew me. She was in a recruiting company that recruited people for nonprofits. And I got 2 interim positions. Third way to network, volunteering. Do you volunteer for your local soup kitchen, your food pantry, teaching English as a second language, tutoring kids, cleaning up the park, whatever? Find something you're passionate about and volunteer, and the other volunteers are just as passionate as you. Every individual has his or her own network of 100 to 200 people, so volunteering. 4, hobbies. What are your hobbies? Are you into tennis, golf, swimming? Are you into gardening? Are you into crocheting, knitting, mahjong, whatever? Join a group of people or a club for your hobby. All those people have their own networks. What you have in common is the hobby, and then they have networks. And number 5, 5th way to increase your network. Join a civic or religious organization. The Elks, the Masons, the Knights of Pythias, a church, a temple, a synagogue, a mosque. You go every week, you see the same people, you get to know them. They have networks. So those are my 5 things of how do you build your network.
Thank you very much. That's
You're
very,
welcome.
very helpful.
And Amy has talked about this topic, Linda, on our YouTube channel. That I send out the link. I send out the link in
Send out the
in all
link
the
in
follow-ups. You can take a look at Amy's video recording of that
Okay.
webinar. Okay,
Thank you very
That's good.
much.
as they're also good.
You're welcome.
Okay, we have Evan. I think Evan is the last question I have. If anybody else has a question, you have to put it in the chat, guys. Okay, Evan.
Hey, how are you? Thanks for taking this. Yeah, great session. I was just wondering, so I recently just got laid off, first time in my career. So on my header in my LinkedIn, what do you put up there? I used to have director of program management at blank, right? Do you put up like if you're looking for a program management role, project management role, product management role, or do you say like kind of some like experiences or like stuff that I've
Yeah.
done, like
Okay.
cloud, like cloud migration, payment experience, like stuff of that nature? What would you put
You're
in
talking
there?
about under your name in the heading. Okay.
Correct, not the
LinkedIn.
actual summary.
The heading on your LinkedIn profile is 220 characters.
Correct.
You can put in a few of your previous job titles and a few
Okay.
keywords of your skills. So fill up
Okay.
those 220 characters, fill them up. Things that you've done, things that you want to do. If you're looking for a particular job, you put that job title first. Okay, and then skills that are required for that job, you can add those as well. So do it in a Word doc. This is what I suggest to people. If you want to write or rewrite your LinkedIn profile, don't keep going in and out of LinkedIn.
Right.
Start with a Word doc, write everything in the Word doc, and then you can edit it, Evan. And you can also, have it count the number of characters to make sure it will fit.
Right.
And then you cut and paste into LinkedIn.
Okay. So you wouldn't put anything of like past experiences or what you've kind of worked on.
Unless it's relevant to what you want to go for. Yeah, sure.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, we're gonna do 2 more. So Elliot, And then I think Lamonda has another question. So just 2 more, please.
By the way, on excellent presentation. Really spot on. Just very quickly on the networking thing, you see a lot of faces on your screen, everyone. Take a snapshot, maybe during the course of the whatever, take a look at LinkedIn, see these people. 1 or 2 might resonate with you. Go into direct message, give them your LinkedIn handle. Worst that can happen is they don't do anything. If they save the chat, you might hear from them. You just improve some of the network. And also, this is an ideal time. You're just before Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, Christmas. Go to whatever people you have there. Put together a stock message, change the name, get out there. Just say, have a wonderful whatever holiday. LinkedIn will do the work for you. 2-3 years so when you get in touch with them, your message from today will be right there. You're not going to have to look for it. A quick question, Amy. So many times what happens is, you change some of your profile and you get like an in-mail, Amy, look, we have such and such. This is just for you, management, boom, boom, boom. Then, and you say, great, I'd like to learn more about it. And they say, send me a resume. Now, my understanding, and maybe the wrong approach, is that instead of just going off willy-nilly and doing that, I sort of take a step back and say, listen, I'd like to have this to be a win-win situation. Can you give me more? And I hope that doesn't come around as pushy. Do you have any other, me suggestions? Otherwise, you might be wasting your time. You have a fully crafted resume for who knows what. You have no idea what you're applying for. Please, thank you.
Good advice. Thank you.
Okay, I don't know if I'm up next. This is Lamonda, and I did not want to show myself because I'm actually walking. But hello, it's a pleasure to meet everyone. All righty. Could you please review for me? You said link your resume to a couple of platforms, ChatGPT, TillHQ, before you actually submit. Can you just clarify and review that quickly for me, Amy? Thank you.
Well, it's in the, ChatGPT is one of them. JobScan is another of them. Some of them charge money, some of them don't. You can Google resume sync to ATS and see what you come up with. And that'll help you do the comparison.
I understand the purpose now. Thank you. I think I was missing that one step. I got it. Happy holidays to everyone, and thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
happy holidays. You'll see it all in the follow-up that I'm going to send. Okay. So I think we're going to end it here. I will stay on with Hannah for another half an hour. If anybody has any other questions, I think Amy, you did such a fabulous job. I thank you. We all thank you so much. You were so thorough. The advice you have shared over the past few sessions, I use all the time when I talk to my clients. You were just so helpful. I want to thank the Jewish Federation of Greater Metro West and Project M for supporting our program. And the next one is we're taking a break. Well, I'm taking a break. We're taking a break. And so our next JobSeekers webinar is going to be Thursday, January 16th. And the title is How to Handle Ghosting in Your Job Search. It's a topic that everybody brings up. So we're just going to hit the nail right there. So happy Chanukah Sameach, happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas, happy holidays, everyone. And Amy, thank you.
Okay,
Yeah,
everybody.
Christmas.
I'm happy.
And happy Kwanzaa. There's one more. Happy Kwanzaa, Lisa.
Kwanzaa.
Happy Kwanzaa.